Hey, friends, welcome to another episode of the show. This one's a special edition. I'm going to tell you why here in a moment. Actually, a pretty special person, Dr. Kevin O'Mara, former superintendent of Argo Community High School, District 217. Salute! And current president of School Exec Connect. You've all heard of that, right? Professor of doctoral programs at should I say just the Concordia University? I might get myself into trouble saying that, but
That's right, because there's one up by you.
there is one right out the back door. This one happens to be in Chicago. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here, Joe. Appreciate it.
Hey, real quick question right out of the gates. There are loads of reasons right now, honestly, to be concerned about the future of public education. I want to ask you right out of the gate, what brings you joy in the work that you're doing today?
The joy I get is the same joy I had my first day as a teacher over 30 years ago, which is you get to see the impact you have on kids and families, which is a positive thing in our society. And I don't think and I don't hope that that will ever change.
Mm, so rich, so
No,
rich.
it's why we do what we do. We're not here to be millionaires. We're not here to um, buy fancy cars. We're here to help kids, students, families grow and become better themselves. That's why we do what we do.
Well, let's talk about you as a matchmaker out there for what I would arguably say is one of the most important jobs in any community, right? The sober reality 23% of America's 500 largest school districts replace their superintendent in 24-25. Um, Candidate pools, they're shrinking, they're hardly wet spots these days. Political pressure is building, right? And it's just crushing our leaders. And the media is screaming, the profession is dying, or at least public ed is dying. But your firm advertises every search that you do is on time, it's on budget, as expected. How can you hold such a resolute stance in such an uncertain time?
Well, I think that relies on the fact that we've got 67 consultants that work with our firm that we screen very, very carefully so they match our mission. They match our vision for creating a great environment for school leaders. We also don't take every job. If we're going to walk into a school district that has some issues with leadership consistency, especially at the board level, we may say, hey, good luck on your search. It's very, very important for your students and your families, but probably not a good fit for our firm. So it's funny. The most recent search that we just closed, which was Homewood in the south suburbs here of Chicago, we had 91 people apply for that job, which is incredible, especially when you talk about the 852 school districts in Illinois. The average tenure for a superintendent is only 3.2 years.
Mm,
So
mm.
eh, I think basically it's our team that's great, and the fact that we put a lot of passion and energy into everything that we do around sorting and recruiting candidates to make sure that the fit is perfect. Now, it can't be perfect, but we get as close to perfection as we can. And it's not about resumes and application documents and cover letters. It's about fit.
Yeah, I want to really dig in. There's a schema that you have built for your company that really, I mean, it demonstrates standards that you have, and those standards are important in you vetting the right people in. And there's a lot of broken systems out there doing searches. We're not going to call them out, but healthy teams are the ones that are recreating these systems to the standards that our communities deserve. And that's why I'm talking to you, is because I don't know of a standard any higher than what you have built. And there are some boards that are really getting this right. So
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to just scratch into that. You've seen both sides, right? And you've pushed
Absolutely.
away and said, probably not a good fit. But what separates the boards that are winning today from the boards that aren't quite there yet?
Well, if you look at, as we do our homework on boards and watch prior board meetings, if they're online on YouTube or other live stream media, or just review agendas and minutes, you can see what they talk about. And they'll talk about budgets and tax levies and things like that. but they may also talk about making sure that board members get reserved parking spots, or that board
Mm,
members should have reserved seats at the football game and things like that, where their focus is more about the board and themselves than it is about students and student achievement and raising student outcomes and making sure that families are taken care of. So it gives you a glimmer into what their focus is. And if their focus is something that doesn't align with our focus, then perhaps it's not the best match in the world.
yeah. Yeah, and you're bold enough to say that. I think the best people are the ones that turn work away on purpose,
Yeah,
right? The turnover is real. I mean, 23% of superintendents are turning over in the nation's 500 largest school districts. That's up about 15%, even pre-pandemic. But here's what the data also isn't maybe putting on billboards today. 91% of superintendents are actually saying that they're supported by their communities. So there is that fit question, right?
yeah. And those separate disparities that you mentioned, the 23% and the 91%, are things that we need to get after as to what causes both those numbers to be true numbers. And where is the fit that they perceive? And why is 23% of people leaving? How can you reconcile those things? And the answer to those questions are things that students at Concordia and other universities around the nation are working on as far as dissertations are concerned. I'm working with a student right now that says, hey, her null hypothesis is that um, superintendents may feel that they're supported, but as soon as an election for the board turns over the board, that could go away, and it often does. So we're looking at board elections and how those affect superintendent longevity and superintendent efficacy.
Yeah. I r- still to this day I pull up the anguish of leadership, which is that little tiny booklet that AASA wrote
Yep,
back in the day, talking about just that reality of I'm king or queen, one day, but the next day, all things, the rug gets pulled, the slats get kicked out from underneath me. But I do have a theory today,
let's
and
hear it. Let's
yeah,
hear
let me toss this out because I'm throwing it out amongst one of the most credible people out there. Here's my theory: I think the wrong people are leaving. It's the burned out leaders, uh, maybe who shouldn't have been superintendents in the first place. Meanwhile, the high performers, I think they're staying. In fact, the interview that I had 2 weeks ago, 22 years in the same position
Wow.
and not aspiring to anything more. I'm hearing more and more of those that are just persisting within the environments of it's a right fit for me.
Right. And so that's a good point. That's a good theory. And many assistant superintendents that we try to recruit to be superintendents are saying, "I'm happy where I'm at. I get to go home at 4:30, 5 o'clock every day, and not have my name in the newspaper the following morning for no good reason, and go to 8 special board meetings every month till 10 or 11 or 12 after public comment. It's just not worth it to them to give up their family and their own self-worth to become a superintendent, because a superintendent is a tough darn job. No matter where you are, even if life is really good in your district, it's still a tough job.
Yeah, many destination cities have miserable superintendent environments.
Yep.
Right? So it's not about, "Oh, I want to live in that community." Are you sure you're gonna wanna work there? That's that's the other question.
Right.
So, I'm doing this for college presidents. I'm actually hosting a roundtable, and this just came to mind. Hopefully, this doesn't surprise you, but the question that I'm throwing out for college presidents in a roundtable is, why would anybody want to be a college president today? Right? I think we just need to, kind of relabel what the profession is actually all about, because we've got a lot of people that have been taken out, or maybe just given the wrong mindset of what the job really entails. So I'll throw that out to you, Kevin. Why would somebody want to be a superintendent today?
I will say this. When I went from being a high school principal, which is a tough job. To being a superintendent, a district superintendent, um, the first year, the first 2 years are very, very tough on me. I had a lot of skills that I didn't know I needed that I had to develop. But for the last, 8 years of my career, given the support of the teachers, the staff, the families, everybody that I work with, including my board, I felt that I was able to help the people that I worked with make real positive impacts on student and families' lives, more so than a principal, more so than a teacher, because you just are able to create environments that perhaps as a teacher you're not able to create. And those are some joyful times in my life. Don't get I really love being a superintendent, and when I look back at the students that I still remember their faces and their names, it brings me joy. That's why I became a superintendent, and that's why I think people should become superintendents.
My mentor has always said to me, "Joe, the high school principal was your favorite job, wasn't it?" I said, "Yeah, yeah, it
It
was
was
most
a great job.
my most enjoyable job was as a high school principal, beyond words." But he said, "But your most important job was as a school superintendent," and I think that's what differentiates the 2.
Yeah, but being a high school principal was great, but I was there, 24 hours a day sometimes, going to games and band concerts and dances and things. But I love doing it. Being a superintendent is somewhat lonely. It's somewhat detached from the ground level. I was very lucky that my district office was in a high school where I could walk the halls, go to the cafeteria, and so forth, and see kids whenever I wanted to exit my office, which was 90% of the time. I hated my office because I was not an office person.
Right, right.
So I just carried a radio around. If you need me, come get me or call me. But I was lucky in that. I was lucky my whole career, and finishing lucky as a superintendent.
Mm, yeah, finishing strong, by the way.
Well,
Yeah,
we
I read some of the thing you pulled off a lot of just major investments without really hiking up, taxes or raising much for your community. You did it the right way, in a wise way, in a very strategically, sound way. But let's get back to the reality. Many boards today are saying we want a proven leader with a track record of success, right? Um,
right,
and every leader coming into those places have proven themselves in a VUCA reality. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex is probably the C, and ambiguous, right? Just wow.
absolutely.
No, and not even Professor O'Mara prepared me for what, but they figured it out, right?
Yeah,
You just figure it out on the job. So a board that is looking for somebody that has just figured that out, how do they do it again in a season that might be a little bit different than VUCA? I've heard a new
yeah.
title, and I'm trying this one.
Go
It's
ahead.
our society is brittle today. It's actually brittle. Anxiety is baked into the environment. We've
Yeah,
got, just non-linear. There's no recipe card for if you follow these 4 steps for a
right,
process,
right.
it doesn't work anymore. And using old frameworks, that doesn't work. There's the incomprehensible. Like this is beyond belief
Right.
how things are.
How did this happen?
Right. So, how does a school board find a leader that has a proven track record in this unmarked trail that they're asking them to hike?
Not only that, I've always aligned it to, um, when a board if a board says to me, "Hey, I want to interview 8 people that have sub 10-second 100-yard dash times. And by the way, when they get here, they have to run the mile." So they're totally different environments, totally different structures in place. Not only that, but if you're an established superintendent in a good district with a good board and a good community, why would you want to leave there to go to a district next door, next state, uproot your family and so forth, when you've got a good thing going where you are and you don't know what's around the corner because no one does. So I say to boards, don't be resistant to someone who hasn't been a superintendent before, because every single superintendent had their first year somewhere.
Yeah.
So be open to that. I had a board I worked with about 4 years ago. They said if they're not a sitting superintendent, don't bring them to us. We don't want to interview them. I brought a principal from Crete-Monee High School down in the south suburbs, and the board president, Ron, said to me, Kevin, I told you I don't want anybody to interview if they're not a superintendent. I said, just do me a favor, interview him and
Listen
interview
to
the other superintendents too.
right.
They picked him because he was the fit. He was the fit. Sometimes boards need to be shown the way.
So yeah, the fit it has to be a two-way thing. But
No doubt.
if I'm preparing myself for this new era of superintending, if that's a word, what are some of the qualities? What are some of the qualities that I will need to bring to that arena?
And some of these might be obvious, but the most important ones that I see have emerged in the last couple of years, especially post COVID, are um, listening skills, relationship building, collaborative in nature, visible and approachable. But I will also add this one to the list that doesn't get enough press, I don't think, and that's resilience.
Mm.
You're going to get beat up in social media, in regular media, in parent meetings, in staff meetings, rightly or wrongly beat up for decisions perhaps you had nothing to do with. You have to be resilient. And that doesn't mean ignoring what is being said, but it means staying strong, staying on purpose, staying on path in accordance with your strategic plan or whatever you and the board have decided are your goals for the year.
I don't know
That resilience is super, super important these days.
And I don't know that there are many textbooks out there that can actually teach you how to do that without
Right.
just going through the lumps of your own tuition of experience, right? To build that not only resilience, but also being able to take something that falls to the ground, smashes to pieces, and says, "Well, I wonder now what opportunities this creates."
Yeah, and we do workshops with aspiring superintendents. We did one last couple of years at AASA. Dave Schuler is a really good friend of mine, executive director there. And what we do is we do practice interviews and practice scenarios with aspiring superintendents and give them some things they might experience as a superintendent. How might you react to this? How might you respond to this press release that is from a political action committee that has something against the existing board or so forth. And those things happen in real life. So the more practice you get at being resilient, I think the better you are at resilience.
Yeah. Well, the brittle societies, right? It causes or calls us all to be a bit more bendable,
You
right?
must be.
We have to be bendable. And there's some, I do a lot of just personality profiling for, I don't do searches, but I work with executive teams to make sure the right people are doing the right work naturally, right? Naturally. Because you find some people that are talented, but wow, why are you sweating so much? They're working really hard.
Right,
They're
right.
just working crazy hard. And there's a natural talent that I think it is. There's probably this would be an interesting research project. Is there a natural temperament, an inborn natural temperament that a person has that can be masterful really in any any season, any district? But
Yeah,
bendability is one of those things. You mentioned attentiveness, just being
yeah,
able to just pay attention, listen, actually listen, right? For the sake of hearing the heart and seeing the white in the eyeballs of the person that you're
right,
listening to,
right.
right?
And it's got to be visibly listening, which means the person speaking needs to understand and be assured that you are listening.
Exactly.
And that's super, super important. I think the Hogan materials are very, very important for that kind of
Yep.
endeavor. We allow our clients to do that with finalists, and I think those are super important. But at the end of the day, boards make their decisions with their hearts more than they do with their heads, and candidates need to know that too. That it's sometimes considered to be more an emotional finality than it is a cranial finality.
Yeah, and how do you find that in a resume?
Right,
That's
it's right. Put that piece of paper aside. It doesn't mean anything at that point.
right. Right. Yeah, also the neuroflexibility.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm married to somebody that gets locked in, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And that's what makes us a beautiful couple. But boy, do we fight like cats and dogs because she just gets locked into the right way to do something. And I think that is also a good way to have a failed search in a
Yeah,
superintendent that
yeah.
knows what to do in most situations.
Doesn't
Curiosity, staying very curious, going,
maybe
hmm,
we should I love boards that say to me at some point in the search, "Maybe we should try this." Yeah, just throwing something out there, and let's go for it. The wheel hasn't been invented yet perfectly. Let's try to refine it.
right. Okay, one more curiosity, then let's go to this lightning round, have some fun.
Okay.
Um, are there still searches, done confidentially? Confidential searches?
Yes, it depends on OMA laws in respective states. In Illinois, we keep things confidential until a contract is signed with the board and the finalist. Uh, let's say in Michigan, I've done searches in Michigan recently. All interviews must be done in public settings. So the three finalists are up on stage with the board, and the interview is done in live before a live audience. In Florida, if you apply for a job in Florida, your name is published automatically. So it depends on the state.
Okay.
There's 50 different versions of OMA and different 50 different validations on what can be confidential as far as a search is concerned. But Illinois is very, very confidential. So is Iowa and Missouri.
And you see some benefits of that. I mean, I just in the position that I'm in right now, I don't report to a board, so it wouldn't be a problem
Right,
suiting up
right.
again.
But it,
However, if
yeah,
if I'm in a system and have, a couple of years left on my contract, that confidential, methodologies will, my guess, probably work really, really good to get some of your best candidates.
no doubt, no but doubt. If they can be assured, and we take care of our candidates just like we take care of our boards and our communities, they can be assured that if they apply, that we keep our word. Their names won't be revealed. Now, sometimes board members might whisper something to another board member about candidate A or candidate B that we can't get out in front of, but that rarely, rarely happens.
What are you seeing out there? You've got kind of next gen coming through your classroom. What's the future of women and superintendents?
We hope growing. Only about 25% or so of superintendents right now in the United States are women. We hope that the diversification of superintendencies reflects the diversification of the United States of America, that we have a a female perspective. Best superintendent that I ever worked under was Dr. Catherine Robbins at Leiden 212, another suburb of Chicago here. I learned a lot from her just because she had an approachability and a thoughtfulness about her that I didn't see from any man superintendent before her, that thought that their job was to give answers. And that was the only job they thought they had. And that landscape has very much changed, as it should have. But I think that will even change more the more women and more diversity that we get inside the leadership roles.
I'm going to give a big amen to that. So thank you for staying attentive to that as well. Yeah, if somebody's going to rule the country, it ought to be my Miss Becky, not me, because she gets it better than I do. And I don't know. I think a lot of that is in just internal wiring as well. Some people are just wired to do that um, more enlightened, if you will, than others. Speaking of enlightened, let's see how human you really are.
All
You've
right.
been playing superhero roles for most of your life, but Kevin, I want to know what's a quote that you live by.
Um, if you've done your best, what else can there be?
Yeah, leave it all out there.
I mean,
Morning person or night owl?
I'm morning, morning, morning. Night owl for me. If I go to bed after 10 o'clock, I'm dead tired the next day.
That's why they make the 9 o'clock news, right?
Well, that's exactly right. That's WGN here in Chicago.
One decision that you'd make 10 times over again.
Um,
Don't screw up.
After our first contract negotiation, fixing the relationship I had with our teachers, and especially our teachers union leadership. It made my life so much better, so much different, and including them in every decision. I should have done that on day one, but I didn't.
Wow.
But I do that. I do that over again. Having teachers input into their profession makes a whole lot of sense, but somehow we forgot to do that at the beginning. I don't know why. I don't know why I asked
If
this
you're a seasoned know-it-all superintendent, please, rewind that portion right now and play it 10 times over, please, please. How about Chicago boy, deep dish or tavern style?
Well, I think it depends on the day of the week, and I go back and forth, but these days I'm a Lou Malnati's deep dish, well done guy.
There it is. There's specificity. Best lesson from your 9 years at Argo?
Um, when you go home and pay attention to your family.
Amen. So good. Most underrated skill in superintendents in the superintendent candidates today?
Adaptability.
Mm. So if you weren't teaching or running searches today, is there anything else you could see yourself doing?
I wouldn't mind being a grass cutter on a golf course, just on the machine, driving up and down the fairway, cutting grass, maybe having a cigar.
Those are usually jobs held by teenagers that are looking to get into their career track at some point. But
It's okay to think outside the box.
all right, what would the 1990 teacher version of Kevin think of the 2026 professor, search consultant, president Kevin?
What can you possibly be thinking of? You could never be a superintendent.
Right? How about one word or a short phrase? What is the future of the superintendency?
Be good to yourself and your kids. And by kids, I mean students.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's more than one word.
No, 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 no. But again, we're going to double click on that one. Okay. Last question. AI versus your most masterful teacher that you've ever worked with. Who wins?
Teachers 1,000% of the time. I love teachers. Both my parents were teachers. I've got siblings who are teachers. My son now is starting his first year as a teacher this year, doing well. Teachers are great. Um, I wish, like I said at the beginning of my superintendency, I gave more credit to their profession and more credit to their professional input. But I figured it out.
I get it. I get that. Seriously. Dr. Kevin O'Mara, everybody, thank you. Thanks for joining us here today. I think what Kevin shared with us is really some people are saying we have a superintendent crisis. It's not that nobody wants a job. I think the best people are refusing to work for boards that are still hiring for a world that no longer exists. I mean, that's really what we're up against. Good news is 90+% are saying they feel very, very supported by their boards, and 90+% are saying that they're very, very satisfied with the job. So we just got to turn that volume up a little bit, don't we?
Yeah, and we have to turn it up gradually and with input from other people. But being a superintendent is a great job. We need more people, especially women, and a diverse pool to join that leadership train, so that we can continue the great work that our teachers and staff and other people are doing in the communities that we serve.
Well put. So if you're entering the field, you're going to want to get to know this guy, his company. The profession needs builders, not climbers, not
Yeah,
dreamers, not coasters. We need builders today who can navigate the chaos because that's what you're signing up for. So if you feel that you're wired for this, they can find more about you, more about School Exec Connect at schoolexecconnect.com, correct?
correct. It
Yeah.
was a pleasure being here with you. I really appreciate your time, Joe, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Everyone out there, have a great start to the new year, and go Bears.
Go. Well, they're still playing, so I can't say anything
That's
against
true. I'm not going to get into it.
that. We're gonna end it that right there. That's the show, folks. Peace.
Bye
Stay
bye.
healthy.